So raising the cap to $75,000, it's a significant jump, but the Civil Resolution Tribunal order is just a piece of paper if the perpetrator is, say, a judgment-proof individual who has no assets or is a faceless account overseas. So what specific mechanisms are you introducing to ensure that victims can actually see a cent of this money rather than just a symbolic legal victory?
Yeah, so because it's a legal order, there are different tools that the victim has to go after their money if they're owed to it. So this is a 14 times increase. If the penalty used to be $5,000, we're upping it to $75,000. And the reason for that is we want to send a message to everybody that this is a serious illegal activity. So if you're distributing somebody's images without their consent, or you're altering people's images to make it obscene and then distributing it, that has serious consequences. The legal system has many ways of going after people's assets or money, filing judgments to make sure that it can be collected. And there are parts of this process where we as a government play a role in helping to enforce some of those orders. So it's a matter of giving the victim the tools necessary to stop it from happening and sending a message that consequences are serious.
And I'm not the next comparison that I'm going to state, it's not a direct similar situation, but if a landlord has a bad tenant, and even if there is a judgment passed against the tenant that they have to reimburse the landlord for unpaid rent or any damage that they've done to the property, the landlord has really no recourse to enforce that order. So that is also a provincial body that gives that such a judgment. So what would be different here? What extra powers would the CRT have to actually compel the perpetrator to pay up?
Yeah, so there are legal orders that you can pursue to compel payments, including assets. We're also changing the system in general when it comes to collections. I introduced an act called the Money Judgment Order Act, and that was it's just in the process of being implemented right now, and it's to make it easier for any single person who's owed money and has a court order to be able to collect against that individual. So that's also work that we're doing to make it easier to do that. So all of this is about transforming the system to make it easier and better for people so they can collect if they're owed money, and they can have a system that goes after that money in a pretty aggressive way. So I'm happy to come on the show when that's enforced. We're just working on putting all the final details. It's called the Money Judgment Enforcement Act, and that's going to be law and ready in BC pretty soon.
Oh, we look forward to learning more about it for sure. So would this change in the compensation amount, is it only for the victim to seek this compensation from the person who posted such images without consent, or could the victim also go after the platform on which the images were posted?
Yeah, you can go after the platform. This system's been running for a couple years now, and we have an ability to find and issue an order against platforms. So if it's Instagram, if it's depending on whatever platform, we can issue that order to them, and we've had really good success in them just taking the images down. If they don't, if they keep them up or they defy an order, so they don't listen to the court order, then we can issue fines against the platforms as well. But
you have expressed frustration that platforms like X are already challenging some of the tribunal takedown orders in court. So if a multi-billion-dollar corporation won't even follow a takedown order, why should we believe that they will respect a $75,000 fine from a provincial tribunal? I mean, does this law have the teeth?
Yeah, so first of all, most platforms are taking down these images. So I want people to know that if they're in this situation, we are a trusted flagger. That's what they call it for lots of platforms, all the main ones, and they will just take down the image. I am currently defending our law in court against X because we don't think that they took down the image in the way that they should have. And that's us stepping in to protect people of British Columbia, and I'll continue to do that. It's our job to enforce the laws of British Columbia, even if that means we have to meet platforms in court to do so, and we will do that. But most platforms, I'd say, we've had a lot of success in just the image being taken down, sometimes the same day. So it's part of the work we're doing to make it effective.
My understanding is that with the changes that you announced this week, the Civil Resolution Tribunal now does not have a requirement to publish its decisions. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's really important that the privacy of the individual is protected. One of the reasons that this is such a hard activity to get at is people feel ashamed. Mm-hmm. They feel embarrassed about coming forward. It can lead to things like suicide. So we want to make sure that people know that this process is set up to help them. You can make an application. You can apply online on your phone 24/7 in the privacy of your home. Give the information in your application, who's got the image, where it's being distributed, and we can get the tribunal to help you. It's not a court process that where you show up in court and have to prove your evidence. It's about taking back your images that are yours and are there without consent or altered through AI, right, without your consent. Mm-hmm. So we want people to know that it is a private process and their privacy will be respected. So all that's part of the design.
I mean, but by removing the requirement for CRA to publish the decisions, yes, I understand that the privacy of the victim is being protected so that, they are not re-traumatized, but it's also giving anonymity to the perpetrator, the person who posted the images in the first place, is there not?
Well, you know what? It's up to the victim if they want to reveal. Really, that's how we guide most of these decisions. If the victim wants to be public about their ordeal and go after or name the person that is perpetuating it, then that's their choice, right? And of course that, some people may feel like that's an empowering thing to do and they want to do that. But we don't want to do it by design in a process. So I think it's just a matter of respecting the people that are going through the legal process. And it's not, it happens with private, there's lots of decisions that sometimes there's publication bans on them just to protect the privacy of the people involved.
I also want to talk about the other side of this. We know that some of the very well-intentioned laws which are brought forward for the protection of victims are also misused. And sometimes there is a lot of fabrication that happens. So, now the inclusion of AI-generated deepfakes, the line between a real victim and a believable fabrication is also thinning, I think. What safeguards are in place to prevent this $75,000 payout from becoming a target for fraudulent claims? And how do you prevent the reverse trauma of an innocent person being accused of posting such images where they may not have done so?
Yeah, so that's why it's a legal process, right? It's not a process where somebody's guilty or not right away. There is a person, a tribunal member, that looks at the facts and decides, what the truth of the matter is and whether the image is being distributed. So there's a couple things going on there. So the first thing is, of course, there's somebody that decides, right? So each case is different. They have to look at the facts of each case and decide on that. And then there's an ability to challenge or appeal, just like any other court process. But the other part of that is that sometimes it's just about getting your images taken down, right? Mm-hmm. So that is actually just about stopping the harm. So if you can show that that's an image of you that is up there without your consent, it's an intimate image, then you can get an order for that image to be taken down. So it's very clear that it's about you controlling how your body is seen publicly, and that actually is an empowering thing for people, that they can say, no, I want this taken down. It's up there without my consent. It needs to be taken down. So then it's the system working to protect the individual from that image spreading quickly, right? So that's actually a bit different.
Okay, so the $75,000 fine, this is like a civil claim because it goes through the tribunal. What about the criminal liability of this? So the person who has posted such an image, how do they even get any jail time then? How does that happen?
Yeah, there is a criminal process for sure. So there could be criminal liability, and there has been cases of that where people have been found to be criminally liable for this type of thing. And of course, that's part of it. We also heard that a lot of people don't go to the police, right? Because of the shame or embarrassment of the crime or how they feel, which they shouldn't, because it's something that happened to them. But they don't necessarily go. So we wanted there to be a way to just get an image taken down. I think the story that stays in my mind is the Cleveland family and what they suffered, right? They had a son that was targeted by somebody overseas, sextortion, had an image and said, if you don't do this or you don't do that, this is going to happen to you. And the child within 12 hours committed suicide. Now, you can imagine the family's grief after that. And so this type of thing needs to be very quick.
Mm-hmm.
So this process we set up with the Civil Resolution Tribunal is quick. You can apply, you can have somebody, you can get victim support services very quickly. You just have to reach out and say, this is happening to me. I need help. I need support. And you can get that support. So we're trying to design something that's really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's quicker than the criminal justice process.
So if somebody's had their images posted online, they reach out to the tribunal, they reach out to victim services, images get taken down. The tribunal gives them a compensation of $75,000. Now, where in this process is the criminal charge coming into effect against the perpetrator?
Yeah, so then that would be, and of course there would be guidance provided, especially through the victim support services. There would be, if the person chooses, they can make a report to the police, and then of course the police have their authority to investigate.
But should that not be an automatic charge, A.G. Sharma? I mean, if CRT ascertains that the fine needs to be paid, $75,000 compensation rather, needs to be paid, then the guilt is already proven. Should that not automatically lead to a criminal charge?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a victim-led process. So
But then is this process offloading the legal battle to the victim who's already traumatized?
Well, you know what? It isn't exactly like that, because there also could be criminal charges at the same time. The goal of this process is to get the images taken down and get the person in a different situation quicker, right? So there could be criminal charges going on. It's up to the victim to say, I want to press charges. I also want a criminal remedy for this.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the police, once you trigger that, have their kind of independent role about investigations, and the Crown makes their decisions. And that victim becomes a witness in a criminal case, right? So it's just a different process, I would say. So this is about responding quickly to harm that's happening right away to that person and stopping it.